The professor asked me to share info that I did not want to share. ETA. A genogram is like a family tree, but with extra symbols, e.g. a beer bottle for my alcoholic father, and lines connecting each person. The type of line dictates the type of relationship: close, smothering, distant, estranged, abusive, etc. I studied social work in school. I found myself doing 3 genograms over the course of my schooling. One for Intro to Social Work, one for Sociology of Mental Health, and then another in my last year. I have some not fun family history and trauma, and so these assignments were never my favorite. But my teachers for the first 2 didn't pressure me to disclose only what I wanted and be vague. One even said I could do a fictional family. Lol. The last one did not. See, one thing we learned was that bringing up a client's trauma outside of a therapeutic environment can be harmful. We were BSWs, which are not qualified therapists. During intakes and assessments, we learned to tell clients that they don't have to give more details than they wanted to. There's a whole host of reasons behind this, but I'll spare you all the lecture. I brought this up in class after this teacher assigned an extensive genogram with an accompanying 5-page essay on what we learned about ourselves. A third of the class expressed the same concerns. His reasoning was, you might be doing this with your clients and you shouldn't ask them to do anything you wouldn't yourself. Not unless I get a graduate degree and become a therapist or psychologist. The teacher also didn't give us an answer when asked if resources for therapy would be provided if this brought up any students' past trauma that they needed to talk about. Oh, and of course, he added, this will only be shared with me and is 100% confidential. Unless you choose to share. Literally not any of our concerns. But I don't want to share any of my deeply personal business with this man. The assignment did not bother me as much as the hypocrisy of it all. I said, between class assignments and therapy, this will be my 5th one. Could I turn one of those in and be given an alternate assignment? He wouldn't budge. He said I didn't need to disclose anything I didn't want to. But followed it up with, but I expect you to take this assignment seriously. And when I turned in a rough draft with about as much as I was willing to disclose, he said it wasn't detailed enough. Alright, fucker. It's showtime. I have a lot of family trauma that is not mine to disclose. And I rarely ever disclose it. At least not with anyone who would ever meet the folks involved. My own is embarrassing enough, but definitely not as bad as some. But I put all that shit down on there and wrote about it. Then, the following week, the teacher asked if any students would like to share their genogram. If they're comfortable. My hand shot up. I will spare you the details. But I basically gave the class a content notice to allow anyone to leave who may be triggered. A common thing in social work school. And then I just shared all of it. All of the relationships and why they were fucked up and why I hate my dad and my sister resents my mom and all that. Cheery smile on my face the whole time. The teacher uncomfortably thanked me for my bravery. A few students shifted in their seats, feeling uneasy. Others smiled. Then my friend volunteered to share. She didn't like the assignment either, but she's not one to argue with teachers. Her presentation trumped mine. Girl had a real messed up family. And by the end, she was red in the face and everyone was super uncomfortable. Next person to volunteer to share was this girl who was in foster care. I'm not even sure if her sharing was malicious compliance, but hers was the most uncomfortable to hear. She started to cry at the end. Another student who also grew up in foster care started to tear up. The teacher cut us off after that. Another teacher overheard, and the following week, we had some serious discussions in class. I and the other students who shared were referred to the school's mental health center. Lol. Another teacher I had a good relationship with checked in with me, and I told her what happened. I can't tell for certain what went on, but it created a stink in their department. It's been several years since I graduated, but I heard there is now an alternative assignment for the genogram. So, lesson is, don't tell social work students to do something that you tell them to never do to their clients. And you don't get into social work unless you are traumatized AF. That teacher was awful. I felt such rage just reading this. He should have been fired. You may have clients that will disclose traumatic events to you, but as a therapist it is unethical and inappropriate for you to disclose any of your personal history to a client. I have shit from my past I can't even talk to my counselor about. It's just too traumatic to share. I've dealt with it and put it behind me. I'm not sharing that shit with anyone. The person responsible is dead. I let the dead bury the dead and let it go. That teacher fails at everything. As a teacher, as a person, just know, I'm sorry, you had to deal with his crap. Question for us non-social workers. What's a genogram? Oh wow, had the exact same thing happen in my bachelor's of psychology. We also had to take a class that was basically, this is how it feels to be in your client's shoes. A mandatory therapy class with ridiculous attendance restrictions. Can't be late or miss a day ever, including fucking funerals, etc. Or you fail the class. Fail the class and you can't write your fucking thesis for a whole ass year. This wasn't as public as yours. Only groups of 8. But what was the little annoying thing again? Oh right, I wasn't going to be a clinical psychologist. I was never going to have fucking clients. This was our bachelor's, after which we could pick out of 8 masters, of which only 2 were the fucking clinical track. I'm a fucking user experience researcher now. I highly doubt any of my participants will offer their fucking trauma to me when I'm discussing what their experiences are with fucking refrigerators. Or some shit. I'm still a little pissed about it, in case you can't tell. The literal third question we were asked in that fucking class was, how is the relationship with your parents? I didn't do what you did though. I raised fucking hell the entire time I was there and outright refused to participate in any of the assignments that were related to bettering oneself. I came this close to suing the university. And now, 6 years later, I still wish I had actually gotten a lawyer. Absolutely ridiculous. Edit. Sorry, got a little ranty there, lol. I love how you handled this, for the record. Fuck educators that think they have the fucking right to pry like this. Stay strong, fellow social worker. I just graduated from my program and I had a few genogram assignments as well. I'm sorry, you had a professor handle your trauma so poorly. It's crazy to think some trained and experienced social workers, let alone professors of social work, can be so ignorant to trauma. Sending you good vibes. That's awful. I like you saying, lol. That's exactly how I respond to stuff like that. I heard the other day that 50% of social workers experienced childhood abuse. Possibly a UK stat. In any case, I think it's a common reason to be drawn to the profession. I am sure it must bring an amazing quality of empathy and genuineness to the work. Mental health social worker here. I can confirm that you don't become a social worker unless you're traumatized. I will spare you the details. I expect you to take this post seriously. It's actually really heartening to hear people with last trauma wanting to help others. As an inner-city school teacher, you guys are sorely needed. Investing in mental health will get you more bang for your buck and successful outcomes for kids. Instead, yet another online platform. You guys are brave. Not a social worker, but have done some counseling study and practical, and my heart goes out to your entire cohort. 2 hearts. That's absolutely batshit. Well, now it's been years and I'm very comfortable and open and have been forthcoming with my team. I offer information and tidbits willingly now. I can still throw them a curveball or two with some of the stuff I just don't talk about. I am okay to generalize for an audience. I feel people knowing about what I went through can help them identify potentially children around them being abused and how to help them out. I do help the CPS in my area with some advocacy and support with abused kids. In a "here's a nice lady to be with you while everyone wants to talk about the bad stuff. Can you talk to this lady 'cause she knows what you're going through with this court decision, she can help us answer your questions and help you think of good ones to ask" type thing. I go into my past with those kids, especially when I'm the buddy, so they have someone they know who gets it. They get it. I balk at more than those situations. It's not just that it's traumatic to some, though to forget it possibly could be as awful. I don't necessarily become overwhelmed because of it, I just get sad and for a while, and I choose to be happy. I choose to be healthy, and I choose to try and be the best me that I can be. I've done the work with therapy. You know why some people become teachers versus actually practice their knowledge in the field. Because knowing what's on paper is a world away from actually using it. Use this guy as the person you learn to pick red flags from. 'Cause colleagues like this could seriously harm patient clients. It takes people like who with the courage to change these silly psych courses. That's cruel. ELI 5. What is a genogram and why is it such a common assignment in social work? Yes. BSW and HDFS. Currently an MH field. What the actual heck? You go. Our class genograms were a textbook of PTSD and borderline PD. I've never had a teacher or therapist push more than comfort level. Sorry this happened to you. But maybe you saved a soul. Hugs from another social worker heart. Your last line was what I was thinking through your whole story. I'm not in social work, but I know that people don't go into that field for the fame, glory, and money. Who in their right mind would think forcing people who chose such a field to share all the dirty little details of their lives would be a good thing? I hope that guy got raked over the coals by his peers and department head. The added part of sharing aloud, what the fuck was he even thinking? Have you asked to look at? I have this theory, that a majority of people who study things like these, social work, psychology, etc., need help or have needed help in the past themselves. So I don't understand how the teacher didn't see these issues coming. Either he is dumb as rocks or has no empathy whatsoever.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.